Wow. Yeah, our audio has been very much off. Wow, so sorry about that. Yeah, thank you so much for your feedback. So yeah, so you're welcome to the live stream. We are also very much live streaming on YouTube and of course X and Facebook. So we are live streaming on four different platforms at the same time. Must we support recycled politician? That is our topic. Would you like to join or chime in something? All right. As a matter of fact, do you think we can actually make it work? Do you think we can actually, bring about a newness? All right. Can we bring about newness in our choice in the next election cycle? Do you think this can be done? Let me see. I want to really. Okay. Yes. Everyone. Let me allow and everybody to be able to request. Yes. So yeah. So do you think it is possible for us to go a different route in the next election cycle in Nigeria? I think that is, a very important question as we proceed towards the election year. We have just um, few months to general elections in Nigeria. Do you think Nigeria's election is even, who becomes the next leader is very, very important to you, or you don't give it two F's about who becomes the next leader? And of course, if you do not care, or if you don't give a toss about whoever becomes the next leader, why should you complain really? If anybody gets there and misbehave, why should you complain? And that is a very legitimate, question to ask. Why should you complain if everything goes wrong when you are not able to bring about, some level of participation in who becomes the leader? All right, and it is very important. Unless you want to really deny the fact that part of the problem has been leadership quality in Nigeria, you know. And I want to really read out, something that I will basically, I asked a very simple question from Grok, saying that is it possible for a revolutionary party to get 15 million votes? All right, in the Nigerian electoral landscape, securing 15 million votes in a presidential election is ambitious but visible for a revolutionary party. One focused on systemic change, anti-establishment rhetoric and mobilizing disenfranchised groups. For context, the 2023 elections saw about 93.5 million registered voters. I think the numbers must have gone up by now. By now we should be having at least 100 million registered voters in Nigeria. But only 25 million valid votes were cast due to record low turnout of 27%. There was no too much turnout really. All right. The winner, Bola Ahmed Tinubu of APC, the now incumbent, gathered 8.8 million votes, 36%, while runner-up Atiku Abubakar and Peter Obi received 7 million and 6.1 million respectively. A revolutionary party like Obi's Labour Party, many people will call it a revolutionary party, but some will also call it a party of mixed, circumstance. There are mixed circumstances surrounding the Labour Party as at the time that Mr. Peter Obi was running that as many people saw Mr. Peter Obi committing class suicide, basically moving away from his usual base basically. But the actual fact is the fact that Labour Party is no different as at the time. It was still a party of establishment politicians, recycled politicians who were not in good standing in their base. You had the likes of APC politicians and PDP politicians there, just the same way it is with ADC now, that you have, you know, an assembly of both APC and PDP politicians in ADC. So, so far so good. Can we call that a revolutionary party? Really, it's not, because it is made up of establishment politician. So, all right, yeah. And what happened? This Grok is just trying to, tell me, the emphasis of how Labour Party got 6.1 million votes. Really, thank you so much for joining once again, Papi Ropsy. Thank you so much. It's nice to have a conversation with you. The other time it was very interesting, and we had a very engaging, civil, and very progressive discussion. The last time we um, were able to, have some level of interface. It's nice to have you once again this morning, um, Happy Robsy. Thank you so much. It's nice to have you, and I would always keep the door open for progressive discussions. All right, especially ones that can really challenge the very core of my own choice, really. And anyone who has paid close attention to me well enough, to a large extent, predict most likely what it would be. Right? Anybody who has basically, paid some close attention to what my choice would be, they'll most likely predict, yeah, this guy would most likely vote because, yeah, I'm also a voter in Nigeria. I have my voter's card very handy here. All right, I think let me remove it. So yeah, so I have my voter's card very handy, and I'm not just some talk heads, I'm not just some talk heads on TikTok. This is my voter's card. All right, so and I also have some voice in my sphere of influence in my community. I would recommend to them what should be their choice. But well, you can only just recommend. You can only canvas. Their own is to make a choice. Would they rather? Thank you so much, African the Box. You're welcome. So would they rather choose the establishment or go for a different direction? Now them do can't choose. All right. Now them go choose by themselves. And the question is do you think, must we support recycled politicians? That is our major core. That's our major focus for today. Is it a must for us to really dig deep, or perhaps say that we want to remain and basically support and push for the status quo to continue? You know, APC, and even honestly speaking, the players in ADC have always been the usual politicians running for office. Yeah, you ready to address us? Okay, please proceed, Papi Robs.
Uh, you see, the way I'm not so that old,
Mm,
so I enter university very early. I get you.
yeah.
So um, the experience of moving from, I mean, being practically engaged in political activities since 1989,
Mm,
back, I've taught me a lot of lessons.
mm,
I get you.
mm,
I remember when we were in woman one comrade that come from Lasso happens to be the son of chief imam of Woman that time. I forgot his name. So we are campaigning for NCP, Egbe Oloju. Are you getting me? And
that
we
is the
got with the
National Conscience Party, right?
yes,
The
we call it
Ganifa,
Egbe
the
Oloju.
Ganifire Party.
I think every party,
Mm,
you know, all of us then, we just came out from DSN. Also, naturally, we supported the conscious party and we did that. Now, that guy almost won that election. That's my service. He almost won because they are not the people are not supporting. They are not asking money from the guy because of what? Because he is the son of Chief Imam. You get what I'm saying now? He is the son of Chief Imam. So he's riding on the name of his father or the family name. Are you getting me? Nah, the Baba na good person. But it's not as if Chief Imam was or Chief Imam of Gabasiba was giving money out. Are you getting me? But it was respected in the society. The guy almost won that election, honestly, maybe narrowly. You know that 2003 election, there was not much rigging then. You know, people voted. You know, 1999 and 2003 election. So rigging did, but it's not as much as now. I get it. So when you look at all these people that comes from other party, how many name in what I'm trying to say is that election in Nigeria, political culture is tribal. Is tribal. Even if you don't have money, I've seen people that won election without spending any money. I get it. I mean, they spend maybe just 7 million just to buy this. Just bring anything. Just don't worry, we vote for you. I get it. Your is a good. Your grandfather is a good person in this, blah blah blah. All those stuff. So that's what we call social capital. So if you want to make it, that that's the main reason I said the other time, just 3 days ago. It's not about physical cash alone. If you don't have, can you convince somebody that has that social capital? If, for example, now if I want to go to Atiba local government to go and contest, nobody knows me there. Though my I have not been there. I get me, and I want to contest for House of Rep, I will lose, regardless of how sophisticated my ideology is. I get me, the one regardless. But maybe because my uncle is a very known person in that community. I get him. If I leverage on my uncle's name or maybe on my family's name, they are voting for my family, not me. So that is, and you can only make changes in 2 ways. It's either you stay as opposition from outside, or you stay as opposition from inside. Now, opposition from inside is that even if you are not more than 5 people from your party, I remember when we are doing student union then PSN, you don't normally have like 2 or 3 members in the house of the SRC because there are not many. You know the way we campaign, we don't beg for people. So the highest honorable we have in the SRC then maybe 3 or 4. For other organization, Libra, Energy, every campuses have their own student groups. They form it, they align it with outside party. They control the majority. But so you see that 3 DSM people, three that we are member of House of SRC, the way we make noise, people we make sure that people will hear what we are saying. So we expose, you are a thief, you are the one. So if they were setting up committee to investigate fraud, we are the one they be put there. So what I'm trying to say is that we can make change, revolution can happen. You don't need to join a party, but you can be strategic and focus. Okay, let us look at Southwest. Can we capture, can we use our resources? We have 50 billion naira, we have 50 billion. Can we target Southwest? Capture as many as possible as of assembly or as of rep or local government chairman or I'm just giving you an example. It doesn't matter if you go at it because you have to look at the resources you have. Election cost money. Even SUG, ordinary SUG, you are not giving people money now. You make posters, you get vehicles to do you go from one hostel to the other, especially if you are doing election off campuses. If you don't have hostel, it's not like UI that you have hostels or OAU. When you are doing election maybe in ASU or in Lautech or OSU, that you have to go from one area to the other. I understand one thing. Election, no matter how small it is, always cost money. The problem of AAC is money. So we have to do calculation. I cannot go to 36 states. Okay, if I want to go to 36 states, I will just target maybe the capital alone. For example, now I want to campaign in Kaduna. There are 3 central districts in Kaduna. If you have money, there is nothing that stops you from campaigning in the three. In Kaduna, just for example, it might take you 1 week to do that campaign. But when you don't have money, you have to do with what you have. So politics is not about what is
There's no
supposed
water,
to
you
be,
are playing with water.
but what it is presently. How can you navigate with what you have? You can gather process. It doesn't matter that it doesn't mean that you will not contest president. But You have to look at what you have in hand. Do they have money to run it? So if you are not going to run it, if you know that it's not going to yield any result because there is no money to cover the spaces. How many people look at social media? I get it. You still need to go to the grassroots. Okay, let me give you an example. 2019, what do they call it? Alawakala contested under is it a Labour? No, is it a party? Contested under a party 2019 and under Labour 2015. Now, Lamidu, I came back from leader at that time. 2019. Lamidu was his son coordinating the campaign. Now, some people just came and started asking money from him. "Yeah, we need money in our constituency. We need money to go and campaign. We need money to do this." You know what? He asked, "But you are asked for assembly ticket, candidate. Why are you asking money from me?" I was like, "So the house of assembly ticket, the person you give the house of assembly ticket doesn't have money to run his campaign. He's relying on the money that the governor be giving. How? It doesn't look like that. You are supposed to go and run your campaign of house of assembly, and when you are getting people to vote for you, you tell people to vote for your governor. But you don't even have money to run your own campaign. How do you want to tell people to vote for your governor when you cannot have money to run your own campaign to vote for yourself?" So it's not it's proven. That is why I think that we can focus. If we are able to raise 100 million or 100 billion or 50 billion, this is what we can raise as a party. Where do we have most conscious people? If it is southwest or southeast, that we have the most conscious people. Focus on it, get as much possible seats. I get it. As much as possible seats. Let those people become the pawn. That is how they mobilize. Now, by the time people are now seeing what you are doing every day online, how you are exposing the fraud every day, put it in the face of people, it mobilizes more membership. Do you remember before? Let me say last one before I answer. There is one group before they also lost the integrity. They call it integrity group led by Lawan or something. I don't know. In House of Rep that time, there's some group of honorables. I think they call them integrity group. They're the one that exposed a lot of corruption that led to the exposure of Bankole and so on. I think it was led by Lawan. Before Lawan was, set up, so he's seen collecting money from the dollar. At least for that particular 1 year, they were reigning. People were having hope in them. They were not revolutionaries, so they are also corrupt, but at least they are trying to hold people accountable. You see, when people are following them that time, because at least there is hope. People are saying that some people are challenging some people. So, but there's nobody challenging anybody in Senate. There's nobody challenging anybody in the House of Rep. Everything was quiet. It was Luminary that was shouting before. Though we know that it's not straightforward, but you can imagine we have about 20 people shouting against corruption. There are some it will mobilize people to them. That's my opinion. It doesn't mean that
Yes, I understand. I understand. And of course, these are legitimate, and you are even making references to what had happened in the past, which is what I respect a lot. We must, people would have to either learn from history or repeat history. That is just it. People would either repeat history or learn from it. So, and if you're not able to learn from these historical references that you have made, then what are we really talking about? So I value this historical insight that you have been able to bring to the conversation. That for an election to basically swing towards a revolutionary party or a revolutionary movement, it has to have some level of some elements. And of course, you have highlighted some of these elements, and part of it at the very core of it is funding. And you also highlighted and mentioned social capital. Social capital. But in the presidential election context in Nigeria, especially with the context of what Shores seems to represent in the in this mix of things. It seems to be the revolutionary um character in the mix of things. The likes of President Tinubu is a familiar figure. One can most likely predict what would most likely be his pattern of governance, and what will be the result of that government, or perhaps who would constitute members of his cabinet, his style, leadership style, and of course some of the things that you would see in his government, which is basically playing out in our faces. Like it's thing is playing out, right? But we now begin to ask if there is really a need for us to even go a different route. And if the people have not been able to figure it out, that they are not ready to go a different route, there is most likely nothing you can do about it. And the fact that we are seeing some level of resistance, even on social media, that you have intellectual people, that you have those that really are very educated, vast in knowledge, and they are exposed to what's up internationally, and that people that really knows that should know better in terms of when you need something you go for it regardless. And of course, when you have been trying something again and again, the idea of electing politicians, recycled ones, is not new to us, and we have been here before. We have been here before. So for people that are exposed, people that knows how data works, those people that knows respect, what is it called, outcomes of decisions, I think those ones should be able to say, well, let's try something new this time around. Let's go for a different Let's go a different direction. Let's look for alternative solutions to our problems, because it seems as though the usual ones are not even bringing what we need to the table. The regulars, I think I saw a campaign, what is it called, campaign jingle of Baba MKO Abiola this morning. I saw the campaign jingle. You can most likely play that jingle in our own time here, now and here, and it is still relatable. Everything said in that jingle still what we are struggling with in 2026. Everything said in that jingle, and that jingle made mention of lack of water, right? That jingle made reference to poverty, that the country is in a bad shape. That particular jingle made reference to a whole lot of things that is still relatable. Terrible roads, education, no drugs in the hospitals, no access to healthcare by poor people. Everything that was said over 30 years ago is still what we are battling with. And somehow our intellect believe that, well, there's no need for change, because I've always argued that Shore's involvement in this whole thing is not just for the sake of being trying to leap before you walk. All right, Shore is also a familiar face. You might argue not politically, but in terms of engagement with the system, Shore is not a newbie really. And of course, people like you and Papi Ropsy, you can tell us a first-hand experience of how it was like, when during the time of Shore, when he was a student union leader. You can give us a more
He was
accurate.
attacked. He was
Mm,
even attacked.
mm,
Almost, he almost
mm,
injected him with one plate. We was
mm,
fighting courtesan then.
mm.
You see, um, we met him in school.
You're
We met
welcome,
him in
Africa in the box, and Mohammed. You're welcome. Please
we,
proceed, sir.
we met him in school. We met him in school, and we used it and all these Baba Kasala, all of them, that were leading us then. When you get into school as a fresher, you see them, these are our leaders. At the end of the day, you attend something together, you start together. Of course, they are all graduating, but they still as a common. That time, we have a common enemy.
Mm.
We are also working together with Nadeco, stuff like that. Now, Tinubu all the Haiti people
mm,
rode on Adeco to come into power in 1989. But when we were fighting this thing together, we started fighting Babangida. Babangida was out of office. Abacha got there, blah blah blah, stuff like that. Come to Shoneko, come to what do you call it, Abdul Salam,
mm.
you know, before Obasanjo. All of us were against Obasanjo because we knew what he did during the Alimos. We read the story of Alimos Go in 1978, and how all what he did to first of all dissolve NANS, the first body of NANS there. So the hatred against Obasanjo was there, and we only see Falaye because it was age. You understand what I'm saying? Now, we supported Falaye. We mobilized all the conscious people, mobilized because those are what the affected Nadeco people brought on board. You get what I'm saying? So we saw
Yes, I do.
Ibayo, the one in Ekiti, what do you call it? Adeparasi or something like that. Then Baba Lamadeshina. We knew how Lamadeshina was leading the jazz, the pensioners, the Ibadan there. So all of them are revolutionaries. Yes or no? Because they are the ones that fought. They went to prison, they fight military, we fought them together. We are doing student wing, they are doing workers' party. Do you understand? Then these people came into power. Because before you can accuse people that they don't want to call activists, you have to go back to why. So these people came to power, and there was a day police arrested. That was the story that police arrested the son. I don't want to mention his name. He became later House of Law. Okay? That they found a lot of money in the back of the car. They had this man, the governor. They asked him on Saturday special. If you are from your state, you understand that program. They do it on every Saturday this way, Saturday special. They asked him live that the story that your son is found in huge amount of money. He was a bully by the then. He said, let him enjoy now. When we are suffering, he sound like, do you understand the way he sounded? Like, this is man, let him enjoy. We watch it, I watch it, he did not tell me. So since then, people now look at the so-called revolutionaries. When you don't have money, when you are fighting the military, you got to power. So they tried a little bit because of free education in your state and because of how people were disappointed in the way the so-called revolutionaries came to power during the 80s. Majority of them were voted out, except what they call the Tinubu that stood against Obasanjo then by fighting with the local government, blah blah blah. I was telling people that time, Lagos State has the budget of Lagos State, the income of budget, the revenue of Lagos State is more than maybe 6 countries in Africa. People do not understand that even anybody can function in Lagos State if they have it to say. But people only retain what they call it, Lagos State. They voted against them and voted for PDP. So then we see people like Oshiomhole that happen to be leaders. Then he came to government. People saw the way he was doing. Philip Shaibu, former NAS president of 97, these are revolutionaries. Tell like it or not. This guy was beaten, put in jail, expelled, fighting. So when you see people that suffered, went to prison, fighting military, were shot, some of them even became handicapped. Then when they got to government, they are even worse than the so-called thieves that you call. Then it makes people to ask questions. You understand? So who is not the revolutionary? So you are revolutionary by mouth. So it casts doubt on people coming in as revolutionaries. I'm telling you what is making people, is in my opinion, what is making people to be skeptical in trusting power with people that call themselves revolutionaries. Now,
But,
that
but,
is that on that.
yeah, but can we really say that well, I understand the fear of maybe because they have tried in the past in the band, maybe because they have bitter stories to tell about activists. But activism and revolutionary, I think, is different to a large extent. There's a very thin line, and that thin line is very, very important. The fact that somebody is an activist, the fact that somebody clamor for basically good governance or has had some level of confrontation with the order of his day or their day. The order at the time were military guys, basically. All right. So the fact that these guys had some confrontation with them, you know, well, yeah, we can say they contributed to the return to civilian rule, and they actually fulfilled a particular void at the time. And the fact that these guys got into office, and according to what you've said, I was not really at the time. I was still a very young person. I was still below 10, so I had no idea. Of course, history has let us know that these guys, especially the Nadeko guys, cannot really be said to be revolutionary, basically, because when people like what is it called, this the current president Tinubu was a part and parcel of the Nadeko, you know, and when he was in office as a senator and of course as the governor, did we really see any revolutionary change? I don't think so. This is just someone that wants to do his own government in a different way than the one in power. And of course, we can see similarities between his government and that of Obasanjo. It was just like, the guy that had a stubborn head, like a strong head, that I want to do my things my way, all right? But you can see some replication of what Obasanjo is doing in Lagos State, basically. So, but yeah, I understand the skepticism, but the fact is 30 years not enough to basically say you want to reject activists. Or perhaps let me even consider it is activism that is the issue here. That people have tried activists or activism, or guys that leans towards activism, and it has bite them in the in the backside, or perhaps they had a bitter or horror stories to tell. But I really think 30 years is enough for you to experiment with other guys. These other guys that we are experiencing now for 30 years. All right. Isn't it time to say, well, let's try Showre? Maybe let's see, maybe Showre will be different from the rest of the bunch. Don't you think that's a very solid argument? But after you have like 3 minutes to respond to that, I think it is fair enough to give Africa in the Box a chance to also speak and have a say in this issue. Please proceed, sir.
I said one thing. When I said Showore is not the AAC the other time, maybe because he did not allow me to finish. I get it. Now, God forbid that thing. God forbid that thing. If they are the enemy of Showore, something happens to the enemy now. Eh? What will happen to AAC? Because
AAC will continue with what I'm saying. With the host of
so
comrades that are surrounding him, is very surrounded with very solid comrades, and I can give reference. I can make reference to 10 from the top of my head that can basically take off AAC without Shore. If Shore is taken
now
out,
what I'm trying to say now is that if AAC really want to make change, want to really make change, not Showore now,
mm,
they need to start placing people in the same pedestal with Showore, that people can say, if, for example, now me, I don't know, but I can mention 10 people in PDP that are not even government in my state. You understand? So the popularity of leadership of AAC needs to be expanded more, in the sense that people need to know that it's not Showore. This, and it's just my idea.
yeah, I get your point. Mm.
Then, secondly, we need to understand that Nigeria is highly religious. There was a Pew research that came out. Nigeria is in country, 96% of Nigerians say religion plays 92% of Nigerians say religion plays important role in their day-to-day decisions. 92%.
Mm.
Now, Tanzania was the highest country there is a way you can win on your side. Now, if me now I see the way that he doesn't believe in God, he doesn't avoid social marriage like the myths that marriage don't believe in God. You kill that narrative by understanding the verses in the Bible that you can use to support your argument in a very way. Corinthians, you look at when you look at Quran, because you know this is the point you want to listen to. You speak
But
to the
Shore has been doing this really. From someone that I've followed Shore for a long time, he has always made reference to the Bible and the Quran,
CV space. CV space.
and he's not really. He has
Shore,
never said in anywhere that he's anti-religion. Never.
when I say listen to me, when I say Shore, I'm not talking about Shore as a person now. I'm talking about everybody, including you, including Africans,
Even me too. Have you seen any form of indication that I'm
I'm
anti-religion?
not. See, listen to me. I'm telling you feedbacks of what I knew about what people are saying
But if it is
about
not, what if it
marriage.
is not true? What if it's not true? What if it's just making
See, it
general,
doesn't matter.
sweeping generalization? Because that is also one of the
See,
our big problem
uh,
when we make sweeping
another,
generalization when it's not actually the truth. Really.
look at me. Listen to me. I just have 10 seconds, 50 seconds to allow Africans to speak. The way I was brought up, if somebody is saying some certain things about, tell me 10 things, and I believe that 9 of it or 8 of it is not correct. I just okay. The truth that is correct, I will take it, and I go and make use of it. As I am now, I've learned something here. The next I came back here is that I learned something that day. As entrytism. I don't know. Is it not Adeg or Daniel that said that word? And I checked it, and in fact, I'm trying to build the concept, write a paper about it to read more about that concept. I've never heard of it before. I learned that is, and it's going to be very, very useful for me in future research here in UK, because I can see that it's relevant. So every other thing you said that day, I don't agree with it. But that thing, I will hold it to my life. And I appreciate that is the benefit of coming to this life. But what I'm trying to say is that 82% of Nigerians believe in religion. Whatever strategy you need to know to speak to them religiously that's going to align with your revolutionary perspective, design it. That is what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely,
Everything.
and I agree
And I'm
absolutely.
not,
I agree with that really, and of
and
course,
I'm not saying
if you
you
were
don't
on
believe
our,
in God.
if you were on my live yesterday, or no, I wasn't live yesterday because we had some meetings. Well, I think day before yesterday, I made mention of something related to anything that any strategy that you have to appeal to the people, especially in the Nigerian context, any strategy that you want to use must have a mix of spirituality in it, must have a mix of religion in it. If you are going, and I even mentioned it yesterday in the meeting that we had yesterday, I said you would need to, if you want to, for instance, now make use of, offline, means of reaching to people, because let's face it, millions of Nigerians have radio sets, and if you are to reach out to people through radio that people will listen to, all right, you would have to recruit very ideological clerics and imams and pastors and priests that they don't even have to mention a Shore or votes or AAC in their presentation. But all they have to do is to fan the flame of removal of the establishment politician, how they have been corrupt over the years, and make references to Bible and Quranic verses that speaks about anti-corruption and how the need for a people to take a stand based on righteousness, based on truth, based on justice, and they have to be very radical. All right. So these are programs that will wet the ground for anyone that will go and meet people in the grassroots to say, well, I think it's time for us to have a change of government in terms of those that will lead us. And I think revolutionary rhetoric and of course revolutionary party like AAC, like Shore should basically be the ones that will vote for this time around. So, but there has to be that wetting of ground, and it has to take some form of religious, context to it. I was saying yesterday, anyone that was in our meeting yesterday can validate this. So I really, really agree with you in every way, because as you have said, Nigeria is a very religious religious country, very religious country. And of course, tribe also plays a very huge role. But we are going to get to the issue of tribe, in our next, session. But let's proceed to Africa in the box. Africa in the box, are you there? Good morning. Africa in the box, are you there? Hmm. All right. I think Africa in the box is still very much busy. So, but the thing is that I really agree with you in that respect of religion and papiropsy. You are very, very well spot on, because if you are going to really appeal to a people that are religious, if you are going to appeal to them, you would have to basically tailor your means of engagement with what is their sentiment basically. And religion is a very part of it. And sure, over the years, and there's coming from someone that has seen almost every interview of Shure. I have seen almost, if there's an interview of Shure that I'm yet to see, maybe perhaps I don't know, maybe, but I can have that pride that I have basically seen every of his interviews, and he has not basically said or condemned religion or anybody. He said he's just basically not religious, but he respects anyone who wants to worship anything at all, even if it's a stone that you want to worship it, and anybody should not threaten you for doing that. You are not hurting anybody. It is just your belief system that you have in your head. Nobody should condemn you for it, and nobody should feel the need to be threatened because of their religious beliefs, really. And he has always made mention to, example. Now he said Enoch. One of his name is Enoch. No, is it Enoch? One of his names. There's a Christian name. No, the first deacon in the Bible. I think I've forgotten this name. That Stephen. Yes, Stephen. Omo Elisha will raise his name. Stephen. So really make reference to that Stephen very well. That Stephen is one of the finest, personalities in the Bible. That maybe perhaps you have to really give room for a Stephen that would lay his life, because if you look at what Stephen did in the Bible, he basically laid his life for the gospel. Basically, he would looked and he said, "Well, forgive them as they stoned Stephen to death." One of the martyrs of the apostles was Stephen, and he would say, My name is Stephen Amoyeleshore, and maybe perhaps it is time for you to really, give a Stephen, a very fine deacon, a chance to basically lead this time around. Not because in this case, I'm going to lay my life down.
Yeah, Stephen, come back.
Okay, you're back. Please proceed. Africa in the box. You're welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah, well, nice conversation.
But you've been listening in, right? You've been listening to the conversation
I've been
so far.
listening. When you were calling my name, I was on a call. I was on a
Okay,
meeting, so I
okay,
just had to wrap it up.
okay. Oh, gotcha.
So yeah, basically, nice conversation and nice suggestions. And to be honest, I've been thinking in that dimension too. So because if you look at it, right, like people, like aside from religion, right? See, religion feeds on another fundamental factor, which is belief. People wants to believe, and that's the reality of things. People, it's hard to know. So people would rather believe. You get what I'm saying? So the thing is that that's the best route to have people believe. Go through the means, go through their elements of beliefs. And their elements of beliefs are all these clerics, all these pastors. Like people want, if Pastor anybody stand up now, any pastor, whatever he says in that church, everybody there will adhere. Not even, don't let me say everybody, right? Significant numbers of of the people in the church will adhere to what he says. You understand? So yeah, it is a route that we really need to start, employing. We always have ideas to go to schools. I think it's high time we go to church. We go to church, we go to mosque, and we try to have some conversation with the clerics, with the pastors. We even go to Iseshe. People are doing Iseshe. We talk to them. What we thought our vision for the country. We can get a lot of people to believe in us from that angle.
But the thing is that
we should also know
me, I'm looking at it from the standpoint of influencing or influencers. because by and large, the ordinary people, the ordinary people most likely listen to their leaders. And one of the problems that we are having in Nigeria is not the followership really, is those that are leading the bunch. They are the ones that are being recruited by the state to control the rest of the flock. But my recommendation would be
You
like,
see,
if we
just,
can, if we can
safe
recruit,
space, safe space,
okay,
safe space. Yeah. To be honest, let me know. You get where I'm going to hear it, because even influencers, as you mentioned, are also part of elements of beliefs.
not
They
social media
constitute elements
influencers.
of
I'm
belief.
talking about. I'm not talking about social media
Any
influencers.
influencers, any influencers,
Okay,
even any influencers in social media, locally, clerics, pastors, these are people that move crowd based on set of beliefs.
absolutely.
So, um, so where I want to go is that we are not the only one that know that is aware of this. That is the problem, because you will see pushback. You will see pushback from that terrain as well, because you cannot do it more than you. You don't get my point, because majority of these influencers, these clerics,
Yeah, well,
you know, it is based on money. It's who can give them more money. If they see that, oh, they are moving in this direction, I'm for sure they will increase their reach to these people. You will lose them. That's just a fact. That's why you see all these influencers. Look at Reno now. It's for the highest bidder. So yeah, it is a route that
so
we can.
are you not looking at the situation whereby radical ones in the communities are recruited, basically radical ones in the community that can basically constitute the black sheep that will just create some revolt. And I printed that scenario yesterday. For instance, we are in Ramadan season, that Ramadan lectures are flying up and down. All right. So all you have to do is just to recruit one of the very vocal ones in the bunch. Say, okay, well, they're gonna if you can carry out this mission for this so period, all right, this is your reward. This is going to be your reward, and not just physical reward, but at least you also have your name written in gold in our history in this struggle. And physical reward is very, very important too. That okay, if you can carry out these rewards, you have 200K waiting for you somewhere that you can tap in. And there are other subsequent missions that you also have to carry out. And there'll be supervisors supervising all of these things. All you have to do is just when there is a Ramadan lecture and it is time to ask questions, your own is to antagonize, because the religious leaders, they are responsible for this whole thing. They are in bed with the oppressors of the people. All you have to do is to create plant the seeds of revolutionary rhetoric. Like you question the Alpha, that why is it preaching to you about one religion or somewhere when the bad leaders in the country are not being looking at. And of course, there are so much issues that we are suffering. There's poverty in the land, there's no light. How can you tell us about one religion, or perhaps basically staying loyal to authority that have not helped us over the years? Right? Why do you always recommend APC for us, or perhaps any established politician, or perhaps any establishment party for us? It's time that we reject and that kind of rebellion, rebellion that will still help
But,
the whole thing.
serious space. I think what you just described. Okay, what effect do you think that can constitute?
It will. Okay, this is it. In human psychology, there's a particular thing that rebellion used to cause. It is going to wake up the rest of the bunch. Like when you are hypnotizing a group of people, and one of it just take one of them, all right, to basically challenge that hypnosis for every other person to stand a chance of waking up. That is psychology for you. That is human psychology 101, right? So all you have to do is just to plant. And of course, it doesn't have to just be in a small group of people. It can, and as I said, for it to be far-reaching, it has to take some level of radio programs that will be done consistently. That will be a rhetoric that will be fanning the flame of the down to the old order, basically, for reasonable reasons, obviously. Anyway, but just that people are not doing it. But as a party, like a revolutionary party like AAC, you sponsor it. you fund it, you push for it, you actually have a team of people that micromanage people across all six geopolitical zone, that would, you buy them airtime on radio station, because that is where people are really, people that cannot have access to the internet, they will most likely have a radio. And almost every household have a radio, and they are tuned into programs. So you just buy airtime of 15 minutes where it will just be a solid revolutionary rhetoric, with a religious connotation to it. And there's a way you can do this. It's very,
Now,
very easy.
now,
Right?
this is different from the influencer.
But it is still influencing. It is still some level of influencing, because at that, you are going to gather people.
The first
You are
one
going
you
to look at
described
what MS Oba is
has
doing
to
now.
do with someone. The first one you described has to do with one radical person locally.
Yes,
The radio
now
station is not like. But anyway,
it's a sync,
no, no, no.
it's a
There's
sync
no,
of
there's
both,
no
because I
evidence.
said no,
I'm
there
just
will be
pointing out.
canvassers. We are painting a scenario. There will be canvassers in the local
Mhm.
communities also. So apart from the ones, the radio people are just the bigger, they're the ones that will wet the ground for the local ones
Okay,
among the bunch.
all in the same package, right?
Yes, it's the same package. Yes,
Cool.
yeah.
Cool. Yeah, it's a very solid, it's a very solid, what's it called, solid suggestion. But yeah, let me double down back at the cleric, side of things, and also the influencer, the local one that you mentioned. Yeah, it is possible for us to have that, and and we can agree that there is a positive. There's going to be some positive gains to that, and there will also be pushbacks, and there are also risks because whatever we're thinking about, we are not the only one that want to use beliefs to get people. In fact, that was what Peter Obi did last election. If you can remember, even there was one video that got leaked that he denied. When he was suggesting that we are in some sort of religious war. You remember that voice note? He was meeting with those clerics. You understand? So yeah, those are the things we could do because those are the things they are doing. But however, there are risks, and this one doesn't mean we shouldn't do it. There's just a risk that we need to pay attention. Like that kind of influencer now, he would have a bit of power, and it can be bought off as well. You understand what I'm saying? It can be bought off. It can be bought off by these oppressors. They have more money, and that's not a reason not to do it. But that's just a reason to what's it called, to make it more ideological, because we need to reduce that risk of someone that has no name. Because if you have no name now, you are the best judge of character. You really want to certify. Let me pick up someone that can do this, and he started doing it. He started getting fame. So it can be bought off that he will just change his message. Yeah, it is a risk, but it's something we need to do because it's what they are doing. Not everybody will be bought off. You understand? And I don't think they have capacity to buy it because you understand what I'm saying. So in that way, we need to find a lot of those people, and so to find this is the job we give to you. This is our budget. Work with it, and it's something that we need to consider as well. And the clerics too, all those small clerics. I don't think we should bother with the big ones. They have already been bought. We know all these persuadable churches have been bought, but they can't buy all churches. You understand? That's the thing. So we can start from the small ones. Just go there, have some conversations with them, put some money on the table. Discuss with them the ideology. Discuss with. I think it's a very good thing that we can do. Go to all this this thing, because then the tradition needs to also be present, whether we believe in it or not. As long as they are not against humanity. Yeah, so all these Session people, they are population in Ibadan. We reach out to them, then we like it. Let's say we even sponsor some sort of festival. We try to push, because some of them, the problem I see with politism is that, because I put monotheism and politism on some delusional scale, to be honest. And I think politism has tendency to be more delusional, because if someone can just come out and say, my God said I should do this. No, it is not structured as all this monotheism, like all this environment religion, Christian and Muslim. You get what I'm saying? So like there is tendency for evil, from some personalized evil, that they will go scot free. They say, oh, my God said I should kill this person. and there's nobody to say, oh no, you can't, because there's no book that says you can't do. At least in Islam, in Christianity, your pastor can say you should kill someone. At least, you know what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you can start pushing this humanity, because if politism has to exist in this present day, all these anti-humanity practices will need to be eliminated. You understand? There's nothing like you want to do sacrifice with a human. All this kind of stuff. We don't know, but we heard those are the things that happen. Yeah, so we should try and promote them too, and try and push some humanity, to them, so they know us. I mean, these people have been against them for quite a while. See, you understand? Like, I grew up thinking that all these religions are, all these traditional religions should not even be existing. They push a lot of things in our mind. So we need to reverse that, because our own traditional religion has to exist too. You can't kill anybody based on their religion. You can't chase them out of the country based on their religion. So freedom to practice any religion. So I think it's something we can do. When you push them, push our vision. We're not trying to fool anybody around. Because I don't think I want to go. I want to do what Tinubu is currently doing, trying to get favor of one religion. Like he's doing this Muslim ticket. I think that's just that's very deceitful. But we push our real mission, because that's our real mission. It's freedom of religion. We push our messages. We push how we want to, the visions of AAC and the mechanisms of attaining this vision, because Tinubu has his own. Everybody has a vision. They want to do. Everybody wants to bring about welfare, all these things, but it's how they want to do it. That's where the problem has been. How you want to do it. You say you want to increase welfare, but you want to remove subsidy. These are the problems we've had. But when we see their vision, we get carried away by the vision. He wants to do this, he wants to do that. But you need to look at how we said he wants to do. Some things he said he will do. How do you want to consider devaluing our currency, and you want to turn Nigeria to a producing state? Let me know how you want to do that. These things don't correlate. But then
Africa.
Yeah,
Can I quickly take in something?
Yeah, sure.
Civic space, you can Google, if you don't know this person, you can Google George Soros. George Soros. It's very massive. I can't say, but it's the left of the funding of the